Hey, everybody. You can call me White Boy Tom, old white man, racist, LBTGQG, Dwight XO, hater. You can call me all that. But I am a 60-year-old white American man who served 10 years in the military and have worked my whole life. I grew up poor, living on food stamps and free lunches at school. For some reason, my parents decided to have four kids they couldn't afford, and but we all made it. I came from a very disciplined family where there was a father and a mother, and the mother was at home up until me and my older brother were old enough to babysit our younger two siblings, and then my mother finally went to work. Um, and that is the number one reason I believe in a two-parent household. And even if you're divorced, you still need to live like you're a two-parent household, and nobody changes the rules on the other, and that the child understands the rules are the same, whether with mom or with dad. But in my home growing up, my older brother probably became the most successful, but was the one that probably nobody figured he would be successful. He was into playing the drums, rock and roll bands, all this stuff, and dropped out of high school. Um, did everything good. Talked my father into letting him drop out of high school. Told him he would join the Navy or something, but he never did. Um, and as time went on, and he did his things, and me as his younger brother, I used to roadie the equipment into wherever he was playing. It allowed me to get into bars and when I wasn't supposed to. But anyway, he ended up being the most successful out of the four of us. Uh, his style, his charisma, his ability to it's a gift some people have where no matter what you do, everybody likes you. And then you have people that totally hate you, and then you have people that totally love you. I'm the one that most people, without getting to know, hate right off the bat. And you may see that, in this video as I start talking about the whole reason I put this video up. So anyway, my younger brother, he was protected, so to say, and he could do no wrong. And unfortunately, his entire life he was in crime up until his later years. And he got into alcohol and drugs. And about I don't know, it's 2025. I think 2020, 2019. Um, he pulled the car over and shot himself in the head because he was disappointed and couldn't no longer live with the demons. And I have a lot to do with him being in jail when my father passed away, but was there when my mother passed away. And I think in the end, he woke up. But my sister, she does great. She's got three beautiful children who all have children. Awesome. So in a family with, a father and a mother there, um, all of them except one, made it without a lot of stress and stuff on them as parents, which my younger brother who committed suicide couldn't have done any more stress on my parents. But anyway, I bring this up because I want to talk about white privilege. Okay. Um, when I started the video, I told you I grew up, I actually lived in Fairfax County, Virginia, Falls Church. And uh, there we went to school, me and my older brother. Um, and we, when school year started, we got one pair of shoes, one shirt, and one pair of pants. And our lunches were always paid for by the government. Um, in a way, I hate my parents for having children they couldn't afford, and depending on the government to feed your children while they're not home. So when you go to school, you get a lunch free. Um, and I did this, is so did my brother and sisters, all the way up through high school. I am not kidding you. All the way up till I was a senior in high school, I could get free lunch in the cafeteria, but I never, ever, ever used it. I just went hungry because I didn't want anyone to see me hand out this ticket that everyone knows what it means. I learned that they were useless one time. I think I was in the 8th grade. I sold my ticket to another kid for like pennies on the dollar. But when you went to use it, it pulled up some information and said, no, I don't know. But anyway, he was about to beat me up to give me his money back. So, they know who those cards are attached to. So with the white privilege, I'm just trying to say that for my entire life, all the way up till I graduated high school when I was 17, living on food stamps, living on free lunches at school. And then I woke up one day after I graduated high school. I worked 2 jobs, and I did that for almost 4 years. And after that 4 years, I looked around. I said, I can't keep doing this shit. I was working 2 jobs, one 40-hour-a-week job and one 20-hour-a-week job. And back then, parents charged you rent once you graduated high school. So I had to pay $40 a week back in 1982. I had to pay my parents $40 a week to live in that house. And I was still 17 years old. I think I moved out. I was 18 or 19. And I moved out with my girlfriend and some friends that I knew from work. We shared a townhouse. But her parents were not allowed to know about me. So anytime they said they were coming over, they had to hide all my clothes and do all this shit and act like I was just visiting. But anyway, that has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. So I ended up, after realizing that I wasn't getting anywhere where I was, I got a high school diploma, that's it. But probably still dumb as a box of rocks. I don't know how I graduated, to be honest with you. Okay. So anyway, I'm about 21, and I looked around and said, I'm working 2 jobs. I'm in love with a woman. I gotta go. I gotta do something. So I joined the United States Air Force. I went into the Air Force from Florida. My first assignment was in Maine, the tip top of Maine, Caribou, Maine, to be exact. From there, I lived in the Philippines for 4 years. From the Philippines, I moved to Fort Worth, Dallas, Texas, lived there 2 years, and then finished my career in Little Rock, Arkansas. And while I was in the military, I didn't see any white privilege. I didn't see any black privilege. I didn't see any Hispanic privilege. I didn't see any privilege. We were all treated by our rank. Didn't matter our color, our skin, anything like that. So after phase 1 of my life, before going into the Air Force, I never saw white privilege. When I did 10 years United States military, United States Air Force, I never saw one gift of white privilege. Okay? So now, in 1994, 95, somewhere in there, I got out of the United States Air Force, and I moved back into the civilian sector. We'll say this was 1995. I came back after getting out. I had a wife and a child. And let me preface this with, back then they were paying people to leave the military because there were too many people in the military. Let me just remind you that with all you see that's going on today with the military and hiring. But back then they were paying us to get out. And back then in 1995, I got a $26,000 or $28,000 check from the United States government. And I paid off all my bills, and I said, I'm starting over. I'm a U.S. vet. Shit's going to rock and roll. I filled out all kind of job applications. I took these, I can't remember what it's called, the civil, I don't know what it's called, but anyway, it's a test you have to take to get into the post office. Civil service exam, which covers math, all kind of different things, which I went to college while I was in the Air Force. So I got a little smarter than I was before I went into the Air Force. So anyway, I go in and I fill all these applications out. I'm filling applications out all over where I'm living in Florida. I have a wife and a son I got to take care of. My wife I wasn't worried about. She was a nurse. So Wasn't worried about her getting a job. I was worried about me. So I'm applying. You want to know what job this privileged white boy got? I got a job at Kmart as a loss prevention manager at $8.50 an hour. $8.50 an hour. Now, I want to retract a little bit, and I was married when I went in the Air Force. Remember I said I was in love with a girl, blah, blah, blah. And we had 2 children. Well, she left going into my 4th year while I was in the Philippines and moved back home. She wanted a divorce. I'm not going to get into the long details of it, but in the end, I ended up having to pay $500 a month to her. Okay. So when we moved back here to Florida and I've got a job, I'm going to make $8.50 at Kmart, 40 hours a week. Wow. Do the math. I don't even want to do it because I'll throw up, but it was sad. Now, remind you, I still had to pay $500 a month to my ex-wife who took my kids, because in the military, you cannot be a single parent. They won't allow it. They will not accept it. You're never going to win. And no court will say, all right, well, you can be deployed at any time, blah, blah. You're not going to get custody, okay, if you're in the military and want to be a single parent, unless the other side of the parenting agrees. So anyway, so there's my 3rd strike at white privilege, because as a white man, I got to pay $500 a month, lost 2 children, okay? Now I'm coming back home. I get an incentive to get out. I'm thinking, hey, I'm a white privileged man that was served 10 years in the military. What you got? $8.50 an hour. The post office had a 2-year waiting list. I'm like, I don't have 2 years to get a job. I got bills to pay. I didn't have bills to pay other than rent, water, all that stuff. So I'm just talking about the white privilege that everyone seems to believe that most white people have. And I would probably say I could understand that a little bit when it comes to white women. But I can assure you, ain't none coming to the white man. Not there ain't. What privilege do we have? Really, think about it. What privilege does a white man have? We lose our kids to our spouses. We lose half our income to our spouses because they don't want to be married anymore. Okay? I don't know where white man privilege hooked me up there, right? No matter what's going on the planet, I watch the news every day, and everything is the white devil, the white devil, the white devil. Slavery, reparations, this, that, which I had nothing to do with. And neither did none of these people that are bringing this shit up. But you have to walk out in the world every day and go, who do you trust and who do you don't trust? I know there was no silver spoon, no golden spoon, no platinum spoon, and goddamn ain't no white privilege anywhere I've lived in my 61 years. All right? So when I have to have people tell me that I owe you something, the fuck do I owe you? I mean, what do I owe you? The world treated me just as shitty as it treated you on decisions that I made thinking I was bettering myself. But I didn't see one instance of white privilege instead of the guy hiring me that came out and go, hey, instead of $8.50 an hour, which we pay the black people, we're going to give you $15 an hour. That would be white privilege. Okay? Never happened. And black people or any people that believe that there's a white privilege, you're absolutely insane. But I want you to look at this in another direction. People of color privilege. Do you not think that over the past few years with DEI and LGBTQ and all this stuff going on, that you're not doing what was happening before? Right? So you talk about white privilege, but people of color seem to have a privilege that white men or white people, I'm going to say more white men, can't do. Okay. So we talk about diversity, we talk about DEI, we talk about affirmative action, we talk about all these things, we talk about equality, we talk about demographics. Okay. We talk about crime by race, crime by city, crime by stats, all this shit. How many black NFL players are there compared to whites? How many black NBA players are there compared to whites? Okay. Then people want to bring up diversity, equality, and all this shit to make everything even. So we go to these colleges around the country. Oh, we can start in the high schools, which now everybody's paying these kids money. They're going to become rotten before they even hit pros. Or they're going to not even go to pro because they got enough money, they think, to do whatever it is they do. So these kids, you know, that are going through all these motions are not being taught in education, especially the people of color. They are not getting the grades, regardless of what schools say what. They are passed through the system because of their athletic ability. Now, this is DEI in progress. This is affirmative action in progress. But if we turn around and said we will no longer allow athletics to be a part of a grade in any level of school, physical education has no part of being a grade. You can't rate them A to Z. You can't grade them. You can't even show it on their report card. It means nothing. What matters is the education. Just the three basics. Reading, writing, and arithmetic. That's it. I don't believe in all this other bullshit that schools are trying to teach. And it was shit long before, you know, LGBTQ and DEI and all this shit. Teachers expressed their own opinions, whatever, did shit. We didn't have social media to cover it like it's covering today. There were always fruitcakes in the teaching industry. Not that they don't do a good job. I'm just saying. It just happens. So we have to set a standard for our children of all races, starting from the kindergarten all the way through high school, that you actually need to get an education, that you can't get by on your athletic ability. And I don't care what anybody says. Most of these kids that go through high school into college and they're already rotten to the core because they've been allowed to go through the system for so long without actually having to learn anything, but their talent warranted them to give them grades enough so the funding continues to come into the college. Okay? And then when this kid goes out into the real world, guess what happens in black youth? You don't hear about none of those stories. You don't hear about they ended up going back to either being a rapper, being a gangster, being a criminal, or end up in prison. You don't hear about them, though. How many thousands of black youth go through these colleges, pass through so easily without being given a proper education? And they were offered the education. They just knew they could get through because their coaches got them through. And the people, the salespeople that are promoting the funds going into the high school or college are like, it's bringing in money. This is what we're going to do. Give them a D. Send them through. They never give them and it doesn't matter if it's a white school, a black school. I don't give a shit. They all do it because everything is always about money. So when the black people start to stand up and say, what do we get? Or what privilege do we have that white people don't get? I just showed you one. Your athletic talent alone gives you so many passes into careers that most white people can't hold. Think about it. NBA, baseball, football, soccer. Now, where's the white man dominate there? You know what? But what teams that are dominated by education, Harvard and all these Stanford and all these Yale, all these schools, guess who those people can become? They become the people making a decision on your life. That's who they become. While you are too worried about that bling and that fucking money from whatever that new shit is they're doing to give kids money to play sports. But it's a black privilege that you have that a white person does not have. All right. So when you ask about white privilege, you tell me one. I just gave you one about people of color. Second black privilege, the word race or racism. Anytime you're not winning the argument, this is exactly where you go. Because you know those two words put fear into everyone with money. And you guys know this for a fact. We'll bring out some racism shit. All of a sudden, Nike and fucking whatever's dropping their ads and da-da-da. You know the game you're playing. So that's a black privilege. Okay, so I'm 2 up on you now. Right? I could go on. Okay. When we talk about inner city crime, and I dare anybody that's on here watching this. You know, I gave you all the names I had at the beginning. So here's a racist one. Name a city in the United States, a major city that is crime ridden by white people. I mean, we have all the privilege. We should be dominating every city, or at least half, because we got privilege. You know, all the sheriffs and mayors, everything take up for us, right? We got privilege. The problem is most of the inner cities in the United States are nominated, elected, chosen black leaders in all black neighborhoods, or most of the black neighborhoods. There's another privilege that you have. You have the privilege to take your race or gender or color to determine the political official you're going to vote for. If that skin color doesn't match, I ain't voting for white boy. I ain't voting for Latino, but black. Don't even have a clue what the fuck they're about. So that's another black privilege that you have. So there's 3. I can do this all day, but I want someone, just one person, to give me one definition of white privilege and how you do not have that same privilege. Anyone. I'm ready. I don't know why I'm coughing.